Hey, yo, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, Pegasus World Cup Day is upon us at Gulfstream Park, and there's an all-stakes pick five sequence I think we ought to take a look at, so let's do that. So let's take a look at the Pegasus World Cup late pick five. It's at Gulfstream on Saturday the 27th. It comprises races 9 through 13. And the first leg is the Inside Information Stakes. It's a grade two run at 7 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And for all of the races we're talking about, I do have individual posts for more in-depth analysis and every contender in the fields. So you can check those out to get a little bit more on where we're going with them. For this one, the field is a pretty good one. It's led by certainly Mary Quite Contrary, Gerrymander, Olivia Darling, and Intrepid Daydream, I would say, are the prominent players in here. But we do have a couple other shooters that should have an impact. So we'll take a look at how we're going to play it. We see that of the early pace presses, E, EP, P, and S, I think you guys know by now that's how we do it. Early pace, stalkers, pace pressers, and then mid-pack P pressers, and then S for closers. So Gerrymander, I've never really been a big fan of this horse. I don't think he has a whole lot of heart, and this field is perhaps more to his liking than others, but he just tends to give it up, and I don't see the will to win with this horse. He's going to be pressed by Sassy Nature to a degree early, but more than anything else, I just think that he wilts under pressure. And so Gerrymander, while at 8-1 is a pretty good price, you don't get Chad Brown there too often. His barn is just dead right now, and I don't know that Gerrymander is the horse to revive it. But at 8-1, I could see using maybe underneath for the exotics, but I don't think it's a viable win candidate. Bluefield kind of runs the same way that Mary Quite Contrary does, and will likely be coming late. I don't think is good enough to take this race down, but is very likely to finish in the money, so that would be more of the use for Bluefield. Intrepid Daydream got a nice second last time, and this is a horse that put together a nice win streak. This is a bit of a step up in class, but should be just sitting off the early pace, Gerrymander, Sassy Nature, and is likely to get first jump. And if she's good enough, has certainly a chance to win. It's going to be awful tough to beat Mary Quite Contrary here, but I think Intrepid Daydream is one of the prime contenders. Same can be said for Olivia Darling. In the past, this horse just doesn't seem to ever get the job done, and that's really the big knock on her. But in her debut at 5 years old, ran a career high buyer and ran a really solid race, and I think it bodes well for the future. This may be just a late runner who's finally coming into her own. So I think we have to take Olivia Darling seriously, particularly at 7 furlongs, a good distance for her. And I think is one of the prime players in here, and certainly one to use. Two-item saver, I think, is more of an underneath horse here. At 12-1, you're getting nice value. Nacho Correas is 38%, third off the layoff, and with a 680 ROI. And this one is coming off synthetic surface, moving to dirt, an angle I absolutely love. And at third off the layoff, I think this one's poised to run a good race. I don't think it's necessarily good enough to win, particularly since she's coming off the pace, and so is Mary Quite Contrary. But I think two-item saver at a price, maybe need more to use underneath. Mary Quite Contrary is the horse to beat. She's a horse for the course, and she's a horse for the distance. Her last race was solid win, and no reason to believe that she's not going to run another good one. All systems go. Mary Quite Contrary, the pick to win this race. So we look at leg 2, and it's the 10th race. It's the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf Invitational. It's a grade 2, run at 1 1/16 on the turf for 4-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And I think this is a very interesting field. We've got some familiar faces that we've seen in the past, and we've got some new shooters, in particular Star Fortress, one I think we have to take very seriously. And, of course, some of the Chad Browns. He seems to have 3 in every turf stakes race, and he's got 3 here. So this is a pretty good field. I think it's fairly balanced fairly evenly matched, and I think there's some value to be had. If we look at how we're going to play this, just looking at the pace, the early pace setters, Ruby Nell is a Dick Mandela trainee, and of course you always have to take them seriously when he ships, and this would be no exception. My problem with Ruby Nell is her best efforts are against California horses. And the California division, sorry California, but it's a little weak on the turf end, and she's been kind of beating up on them. When she's faced a little stiffer competition, she really hasn't factored. Go back a couple when they tried to raid her. I believe it was in the Matriarch, and she fell a little short. Probably going to go back to the lead in this one. Going to get some pressure from Sister Luann, who's a pretty salty Eastern horse. And I just don't think this race sets up terribly well for Ruby Nell, so I'm going to pass. From the pace presses, I like Accomplished Girl a lot in this race. Her first route was impressive. She closed from about 5 wide, very similar to Creative Cairo, who we got a nice price on at the fairgrounds, who pulled it off last weekend. And she got a much more difficult trip than Full Count Felicia, and yet was able to close very well. And at 20-1, I like this horse a lot. And another move forward seems highly likely. So Accomplished Girl, I like in this spot quite a bit. Be My Sunshine is a venerable performer at 30-1. You're getting a really nice price, and I think is coming into this race in pretty good form. And at 30-1, if she draws in, I think is one you certainly have to consider. Probably more likely to be underneath, but one that I think you have to like. I'll just mention a couple of the pace presses because they are pretty prominent. Full Count Felicia is won 5 out of 6 and is a nice horse. There's no doubt about it. I just don't like betting back horses who had such an easy time of it last. And that's really my only issue. You are getting 10-1. It is a nice price, but I get better value with Accomplished Girl. I liked her better in that race, and so I'm going to look elsewhere. Full Count Felicia very well may beat me, but I'm going to let her do so. Queen Goddess just has not progressed, and she won this race last year. Her better efforts have been against California turf horses, and again, not the greatest class, but when she's moved into more stiff company, she hasn't factored. So you just have to wonder that perhaps she hasn't progressed, maybe has plateaued. So for that reason, I'm going to let her go. The same can be said for Cairo Consort. Just hasn't progressed from 3 years old. I mean, just didn't get any better. Ran that wonderful Swedish chant with that dynamite close after blowing the brake, and just never built on it. As a horse, maybe you can get underneath at 15-1. You're going to get a pretty good price, but I'm going to look elsewhere because I just have a feeling this one has gone as far as she can go. Star Fortress is in her second start in the States. Her Cardinal handicap was just awesome. That was a pretty good field, and she just blew their doors off. Excellent acceleration in the stretch, and if she builds off of that, firing fresh here, I think you'd have to like her awfully much, and I do. I think Star Fortress is the horse to beat in this race. Didia has been a very solid performer, and since coming over from South America, really hasn't done anything wrong. The British Cup Turf, Philly Mare Turf, she wasn't bad in that race. No sin to lose to Inspiral or Warm Heart, but she wasn't beaten by that much. Ran a pretty good race. I think she'll have a stalking trip here, and under the right circumstances, perhaps she can get up and win this. She is a hard knocker. I like her grit, and Didia, one certainly to consider. Mission of Joy always had talent, but we seem to be underachieving at 3. Hasn't run against older horses yet, so there's a bit of a knock there. But her last race, she put together her career high. I think she got a 104 buyer, and was a really big third in the Queen Elizabeth II, and lost to Maj, who came back in the mile at the Breeders' Cup and did pretty darn well. I think Mission of Joy may be one that is ready to advance and move forward with a little growth. And at 10-1, I think you're getting outstanding value. And Mission of Joy, I think, is one we have to consider. And then finally, Fluffy Socks. Chad Brown's barn just 0 for 26 right now. Continues to puzzle. waiting for them to get going. Fluffy Socks is an ultra consistent horse, always coming from the clouds, always gives a good race, and will do so here, no doubt about it. The problem is she always seems to be the bridesmaid, and this likely will be that type of scenario. I think she's likely to be more under. That's what the asterisk means, but I think is one you certainly have to consider. So for this race, I think it's Star Fortress's race to lose, but I think Mission of Joy, Didia, and Accomplished Girl in particular offer some value, and under the right circumstances, may surprise. So we go to leg 3. That's race 11. It's the Fred W. Hooper Stakes. It's a grade 3, running a mile for 4-year-olds and up. And we always have to remember at Gulfstream, this is a 1-turn mile as opposed to 2. So we look at the field, and obviously Hijazi jumps right off the page. It's a high-profile horse shipping from California. But you do have some others that we've seen in the past on the Derby Trail. Some of them like Cyclone Mischief. We've also got Steel Sunshine, Dreaming of Kona, Gilmore. There's a creative. There's some ones we have seen in some instances before, and some that came on the scene a little later, like Tumba Rumba and Signator. So we look at how we're going to play this. In all honesty, if Hijazi can't win this race, then he's never going to win another race, because it's a 1-turn mile. He's on the rail, should be able to totally take advantage of his speed edge, which he has over most of this field, get to where he wants to, and a ground-saving trip should be able to get the job done. Here's the problem, and this is a problem that's consistent with a lot of horses in this race: the will to win. This horse never seems to meet any challenge posed to him. He backs up, and when he's met in the eye, it's happened time and again. And that's my big question mark with Hijazi. Now, this is a field Hijazi can beat, and everything is set up for that, except can this horse build enough of a lead and draw off where he isn't challenged and nobody meets him in the eye? That's the big question mark. It is certainly possible, but I think there are horses that can beat him. On the front end, he should get a pretty stout challenge from Expressman. This horse has been off for quite some time. Debuted with a 107 buyer, I think, in the maiden. So this one has speed. The problem is, as the class levels got better, this one really didn't meet any of the challenges with them. So you have to wonder, the quality is a little suspect. This one certainly has speed, and with under Todd Pletcher's care, could rebound and surprise in this race. But I'm going to wait one. I just don't see enough to get excited about. And then Giant Game, we don't know. He may rate, may not, but he's a big horse, and this is a 1-turn mile. He looks to me more like a 2-turn type of horse, so I don't know if this scenario really fits him well. He does have talent, and at 20-1, you are getting a pretty good price. He could very well get into the exotics. I wouldn't be surprised there. But the fact that Dale Romans brings him in, as well as Cyclone Mischief, I kind of wonder about that. Some of the others we'll talk about. Cyclone Mischief, Dreaming of Kona. They were both on the Derby Trail last year, and were kind of hit and miss. In particular, Cyclone Mischief running without Lasix, I think is the big issue for him. Dreaming of Kona, Castle Chaos. I don't think either one of them is really good enough. Castle Chaos is running for Brian Lynch, Red Hot Barn at 15-1. If you want to throw him underneath in the exotics, I could see it, but not to win. Accretive is another one that doesn't seem to realize his potential. It doesn't seem to really get the job done. And this is, again, the pervasive theme in here is the will to win. And I don't know that Accretive has it. He certainly has the speed. He certainly has the talent. He fits in here class-wise. And a 1-turn mile should meet him between the eyes. But again, it's about finishing the deal. And I think you definitely have to use. But I'm not overly confident, particularly with Chad Brown's barn going as poorly as it is, that Accretive can get the job done here. Tumba Rumba, when we talk about the will to win, I think this horse has it, and I like a lot in this spot. The last race was losing to Touch Upon the Star at a fairgrounds, everybody does. That's no sin. What I liked about it was this one kept on and kept fighting, didn't throw in the towel. And I think that showed a lot of competitive zeal. In the Oklahoma Derby, this one ran a good race. Granted, it was on the rail and had a lot of things his way. But I liked the grit. I liked the way he kept fighting. And I think this is a horse that wants to win it at 8-1. I think you're getting outstanding value, and I like this one. Steel Sunshine is another one I think is seems to be more of a bridesmaid more often than not. But cutting back to one turn, I think is going to be a good thing for this horse, and you're getting a good price at 6-1. I think fits in this class and is at a track that he likes. So I think Steel Sunshine as one you certainly can consider. 6-1, you're getting a pretty good price. Gilmore, we're going to throw in there more for underneath. This horse is another one that's just an underachiever, has disappointed time and again. Looks to be getting a little better, but I'm just not willing to get real excited about this horse. I think underneath is certainly possible, and that's why we'll use, but I don't consider it to be a win candidate. Signator, the big problem is the one turn at Gulfstream on a track that's already speed favoring. Signator is going to be up against it coming from behind. Has shown some promise, but hasn't had that breakout race yet. Now, this type of scenario really doesn't work very well for Signator. But Joe McGahee threw General Jim in here last year, and I believe it was, whether it was this race or another one-turn mile, I can't really remember. But and General Jim, had kind of a breakout there, so maybe there's a similar type of strategy going on. I think this one has the talent. I just think running late going to be up against it from a bias standpoint. At 15-1, though, you are getting a good price, so more underneath than anything else. So I think this is a Jazzy's race to lose, but I think it's very possible he can. And if that's going to happen, I think Tumba Rumba is the prime foe, the one who can do the job more than most of the others in this field. Leg 4 is race 12. It's the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. It's a grade 1 run at 1 1/8 on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. And if we take a look at the field, we see some old familiar faces like Atone, Adamo, Masterpiece, Cheryl Spite. These are ones we've seen at the graded stakes level quite often. And Jerry the Nipper. And then we've got a couple who are a little new to the party, Integration and King Max, although he's been in the States for a little while. And Warm Heart coming back from a nice second in the Breeders' Cup. And certainly any horse trained by Aidan O'Brien with Ryan Moore in the irons, you definitely have to take seriously. So we'll look at the field, and again, for further, more in-depth analysis, you can go to my individual posting on this. But main event's going to be the Lone Speed, and had everything her way or his way last time, and that's kind of the thing that is a little bit of a knock. I think at 10-1, this horse is coming into the race in good form, and as the Lone Speed is going to be fairly dangerous, but the depth of this field, I think, is going to make it very difficult for this one to wire, but can hang on, hang in there, and has an outside chance of running the table. At 10-1, you're getting a good price. I can kind of go either way with this one, but I think it's worth considering. Jerry the Nipper seems to always be a bridesmaid. This is a good, hard-knocking horse, ultra consistent, but never seems to get the job done. This is probably going to be another instance of that. At 20-1, you're getting a good price. I think is one more to consider underneath. I'll just throw a note about Catnip very quickly. If this was Monmouth Park, I'd bet with both hands, but it isn't. And this horse doesn't seem to be as effective outside of Monmouth Park, so I'm going to pass there. Integration's last race was phenomenal. This horse just blew that field away. Being trained by Shug McGahee, I think this horse has tremendous upside and looks to me to be one of the prime win candidates, if not one of the top two. I think all systems are go here. Integration looks very good to me. King Max had a nice second last time, and did score one of his career high numbers. This one is maybe steadily getting better, acclimating since he's come over from Europe. And they've been patient with this one, and this might be the time where this one's ready to pounce. At 12 to 1, I think you're getting some really nice value. And if you're looking for a price to take down the chalk, I think King Max fits the bill and looks pretty good to me. Warm Heart, what can you say? I mean, it's Aidan O'Brien, it's Ryan Moore. This one finished second to Inspiral in the Breeders' Cup, and that is certainly no sin whatsoever. It's a filly taking on the boys, but she is clearly got plenty of talent, and I think that is not an issue. You know, in Europe, they run the fillies against the boys all the time. I'm not worried about that at all. The one question might be the distance being a little short, but I think this one has enough talent to overcome any reservations along those lines. And Aidan O'Brien's a hell of a lot smarter than me when it comes to horses. So if he puts this horse in the race, I have to believe that it's not going to be an issue. So Warm Heart, definitely the top choice in here. Anglophile, I'm throwing in as a horse to use underneath, of course. I don't think is good enough to win here, but Brian Lynch is red hot, and this one had a really nice race last time. Had some traffic issues, but once free, closed with authority. Not fast enough to win this race, that's the bottom line, but is in really good form, and if he draws in, I think is one that you can consider for underneath in the exotics. And then, of course, Web Slinger has not run against older horses yet, and that's a concern, certainly. But this one at times has been very good, and other times been a little underwhelming. At 15 to 1, you're getting a phenomenal price on probably, in my view, the best closer and the one with the most upside. And so I think probably more underneath is likely, but at 15 to 1, maybe you want to take a chance that with things breaking right, this one might be able to get the job done. I could certainly see it, but I think underneath is probably more likely. Just very quickly go over the other two closers. Masterpiece, I think he's had his best race. He's 8 years old. I don't see him jacking it up to take this one down. He is on his home track, okay, but I just don't see it. I have never really seen it with this horse. And I've been right most of the time. So, but everybody else has too. 8 to 1, you want to throw him underneath. I could see it. I don't see him as a win candidate. Cheryl Spite is 0 for 2 at a mile and an eighth, and I love this horse. Always comes to the States and always fires. But I think this distance really doesn't set up terribly well for him. But at 15 to 1, you are getting a good price. I would consider more for underneath. You do have to note that while Cheryl Spite is always throws in a good effort, it usually is second or third. It's not a win. And so that kind of governs my thinking there a little bit. So we have the last leg, leg 5. It's the Pegasus World Cup Invitational. It's a grade 1, running a mile and an eighth for 4-year-olds and up. And this is a fantastic betting race. We take a look at the field. We've got some old faces, some new faces. We've got O'Connor, who this is his home track, as well as Il Miracolo. And then we have from the East, Dynamic One. Pletcher's got 3 in this one. Dynamic One, Grand Aspen, and Croupi, who we saw briefly on the Derby Trail last year. Skippy Longstocking, another one that's a venerable graded stakes performer. And National Treasure, Preakness winner. Going to make the foray against older horses. Senior Buscador, the venerable closer, most of the time running out west. Trademark. And then it wouldn't be a graded stakes race without Dallas Stewart throwing a horse in the mix. And it is Hoist the Gold. So we'll take a look at this field and how we're going to play it. Now, National Treasure, I am very surprised. When I first looked at this race, I didn't have the morning line, and I'm very surprised that he is the favorite. And a couple reasons why. First of all, he's in the 7-hole. This race starts on a turn. You always have to remember that at Gulfstream. He will likely is at his best, as we know, when he's on the lead. So they're going to gun him and try to get there. The problem he has is that Hoist the Gold's going to want to do the same thing. Heard a note that Johnny V went back to Dallas Stewart and said this horse doesn't like kickback. You got to put him on the lead. Look what happened in the Cigar Mile when they did that. So I think Hoist the Gold being to the inside will probably get position Nimitz class as well will be right there. So I think there's some speed to the inside that's going to make it difficult for National Treasure to actually get position and, more importantly, settle. Now, can National Treasure, a horse I love, get on the lead and maybe outlast the others? It's certainly possible. If you want to use them, I wouldn't talk you out of it. I'm just going to try to bet against what I consider to be, scenario-wise, a very tall order, who, for a horse who I think is going to be a good 4-year-old. So we mentioned Hoist the Gold, and, that cigar mile was great, but look at those fractions he ran at. He just freaked that day. He's not going to be able to do that at 1 1/8 miles. I just don't see it. I think he can carry his speed a little farther at Gulfstream than perhaps other tracks, but I think it's a real tall order for him to win this race. So 12-1, he's a good price, but I don't see it happening. Trademark, I really like in this race. He gave full First Mission a really nice race last time, and this horse, while being a little on the inconsistent side, is a 2-turn horse, is in good position, should be able to get to where he wants to, and I think is in good form and is firing fresh. I think 15-1 is awesome value for this horse. And I see no reason why he can't bring a nice effort forward. And if so, I think he has a very good chance to win this race. First Mission, I'm a little surprised, is the second choice at 7-2. The thing about First Mission is, if you look back at his 3-year-old races, he got on soft fractions for quite a few of them and was able to settle, take control, and obviously he had plenty left in the stretch. I just don't know if this horse is such a sure thing. I think he's going to get challenged this time. And look, last time he did, Trademark was able to run him down. And First Mission, well, he showed some grit. He wilted, and just enough to lose. And so I do have some questions about him. I think National Treasure is going to lead the way. So First Mission from the 8-hole, which is a tough place to be in this configuration, should be able to follow him and get to where he wants to, albeit a little to the outside. And I think he's good enough to win this. He could, but I'm just going to go against a 3-year-old or a horse meeting older, in only his second time, where it's a pretty deep field, pretty big field. He's got to have to prove it to me, and I think he's going to have to get faster too. Grand Aspen is definitely on the way up. His last couple races, he has run very impressively. I think he's poised to move forward at 8-1. I think you're getting a fantastic price. And again, National Treasure, I think, is going to open things up for Grand Aspen. He can follow First Mission and National Treasure to get into good position. If he can, then he is liable to pounce over the front runners at the top of the stretch. I think he's got a very good chance in this race. And at 8-1, you're getting a really nice price. Skippy Longstocking's in the 12-hole. That's really the big knock here. Last year, he was at the outside and didn't factor very well. And he's a nice horse. He's more of a grade 3 horse, as we know. So I just don't, positionally, I don't think he has a very good shot here. Castle Chaos, if he draws in, 13-hole, marooned. No way. O'Connor ran a nice race last time, but let's remember, he got the rail. He's going to get it here again. But he's 7 years old. He's definitely found his best form. I'm just not sure it's good enough here. I just got a feeling that his running style, I don't know, he could get swallowed up being on the rail. There's going to be a lot of horses ducking into from the outside, trying to get position. And so tactically, he may have some issues that the others will not. He is good enough to win this race, I think. But I just kind of like others better. I just have a sneaky feeling that he's going to have some problems here. Il Miracolo, we hated him on the 3-year-old on the Derby Trail. I couldn't understand why they kept running him. Well, they've proven me wrong to a degree, because this horse, as a gun runner, has been getting progressively better. And I think he is a horse that could surprise in this race. At 20-1, you're getting outstanding value. He does not need the lead. He does not need to be up on the lead. If he can work out a trip, which is a tall order from the 10-hole, I think he offers outstanding value. And I wouldn't be surprised if he upset the apple cart at all. I think he's more likely for underneath, but I think he's a horse we have to pay attention to. And then from the late runners, finally, we're going to use Senior Buscador. I don't think this race sets up very well for him at all, but he is in the 6 hole. He should be able to, it's not going to matter too much early on what he does. It'll be what it is late. But Gulfstream, as we know, a speed favoring track. He's going to need things to be kind of hot up front. It is entirely possible if Hoist the Gold tries to go crazy again. There's a lot of horses who want to be up near the lead. So he may get a favorable scenario here. But I think it's underneath more likely for him. He's going to have to swing way wide. And I don't know that that'll leave him enough left to get the job done. So Senior Buscador, I think, is more likely for under. So if we look at our ticket, we've got a couple of horses bracketed to the right. Those are ones that I could very well see singling if you choose to. This looks to be a little bit of a chalky feel or sequence. And while I think there's some prices that are possible, I wouldn't talk anybody out of going with 3 singles in this race. And in fact, I would probably have two tickets. One that's extremely short, where I maybe double or triple up investment-wise, and then a spread ticket. So for our purposes, just to give an idea as to who we like for the sequence, this is the ticket. So in leg 1, race 9, we're going to use 3, 9, and 10. Mary Quay Contrary, I could see singling in this race very easily, and so that's why she's bracketed. Leg 2, race 10. I think you've also got another possible single here, but 3, 4, and 11 are the ones that I think we can use comfortably. In leg 3, in Star Fortress, by the way, is number 4. I think you could single her confidently. Leg 3, race 11, we're going to use 1, 3, and 11. I think this is a Jazzy's race to lose, but I just can't see singling that horse. I think you've got a spread. I think the other two, more Tumbarumba to me, I like a lot as the primary choice, but I think we have to spread a little bit, just given the lack of will to win on a lot of the more prominent horses. Leg 4, race 12, we're going to single Warm Heart. If you don't want to, I would say it's either Warm Heart or Integration, and that's it, in my opinion. I could very well see Integration winning this race, and if you want to include and then single in some of the other races, I could certainly see doing that. But just to get a full bodied ticket, I think Warm Heart is the most likely single. And then finally, leg 5 in the Pegasus World Cup, we're going to use 2, 5, and 8. I think it's I'm banking Trademark is the horse that I think can get the job done here. However, if you double single on the top, I would throw National Treasure in there as well. So you maybe make it 2, 5, 7, 8. Again, tactically, I think it's a tall order for National Treasure to run the kind of race that he wants to, but it is certainly possible. O'Connor and First Mission, I think, are probably more likely to be in there, so we'll include them with Trademark. So we look at the ticket, and again, a lot of ways to go, and you could certainly come up with a smaller one, and I wouldn't blame you if you did. But 3 by 3 by 3, 27 times 3 is $81. That's on a $1 base because it is a little chalky, and so for that reason, we definitely want to be careful about how much we spend. But I think that gives you an idea of the kind of the horses I think are the most likely, in my opinion, to be part of the sequence. So that's the late pick 5. It is a little chalky on the face, but there are some prices lingering there, and hopefully we can get 1 or 2 home to come up with a nice payday. But I think a smaller leverage ticket is definitely an option, and can breed some nice value and some nice ROI as well. So Let me know what you think. There's always a difference of opinion in these sequences. I'd love to hear from you. Always appreciate it. I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, as always, and we do wish you the best of luck. If you do like content like this, of course, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who have come on board. We really appreciate it. Love the way this community continues to grow. There are individual postings on all the stakes races for the Pegasus World Cup Day, so I encourage you to take a look at those for a little more in-depth analysis. That's it from here. We'll be talking to you soon, and until then, be well.